Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the DMD Fit for Life podcast. I am Tony Jacobson, creator of Disable My Disability, and welcome to the podcast. I've got some great stuff for you. First, I'm going to spend a couple minutes on thought of the day. Then I'm going to show you one cool thing. And then we're going to get into another segment of Talking OI with Dr. Desai. So let's get right to it. The thought of the day today is stop hating and start loving. Now, what does this mean? Well, I've encountered a lot of people who want to start to get healthier, and the reason that when I ask them, why do you want to start to get healthier, they say because I hate my body, because I hate the way that I feel, because I hate. And I always find this to be counterintuitive and not good for making true progress and making true change in your life. I kind of went through this myself where, there was times throughout my life where I would say, man, I hate the way I look. I hate it. I hate the way I look. And I would try and do things to get healthier and try and work out and try and eat better, and everything failed. Nothing worked. And when I finally made the switch to the new way of thinking about it, which is in a loving way, that's when things really started to happen in a positive motion for me. Now I changed, I hate the way I look, into, man, I love my body and I want to make it the best body possible. I love my body, no matter where it's at, no matter what stage I'm at. I love my body enough to make sure that it stays healthy, that I stay healthy, that I live as many years as I can on this planet. So as soon as that changes, that starts to put joy in my heart. That starts to put joy in your brain. That starts to bring happiness. Because anytime you're putting that hate thought into your brain, I hate this, that's all you're going to conjure up. That's all that's going to come back to you is hate and negative energy. What you want to do is you want to love your body. You want to love it so much that you want to be healthy. And as soon as you start doing that, you're going to have a smile on your face. And you're going to start to do things that are in a positive light, that are in a positive note. And you're going to start to exercise and you're going to start to eat better because you love making your body better. And you love your body. You love it so much that you want to make a positive change. So that's it. You got to change the way you're saying it. Don't say you hate your body so much that you want to change it. Say that you love your body so much that you want to take care of it and you want to make a change for the better. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. I'd love to hear what you've got to say about this as well. So one cool thing that I'd like to share with you today is MyFitnessPal. Now, I always talk about MyFitnessPal. I've been on MyFitnessPal for like 3 years now, and it's awesome. MyFitnessPal.com is the website. You can also get the phone app for iOS and Android. This site will help you track your food. This will help you to really see how you eat. And I suggest that everybody go sign up right now. It's free for the account. It's free to download. They have a premium version. I haven't even signed up for the premium version because I don't necessarily need what they're offering, but they are always updating and they always have great things. You sign up, you create an account, you enter numbers. Now here's the tricky thing. It's not very accurate when it comes to entering the numbers, especially if you're not of the average body type. If you're smaller in body type, you'll put in numbers and it's gonna, spit out some numbers that don't seem appropriate, and they're actually not, because it's all based on kind of like average and standard sizes, which is like for us people with OI, we tend to fall on the smaller side. I'm sure it counts for people on the larger side too, but what I've experienced is mostly people on the smaller side. So the main thing with MyFitnessPal is that you can track your food. You can track your macronutrients, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, and you can really see how much you're intaking throughout the day. You can also see your sugar intake, which is super important. I always tell people, watch your sugar intake, make sure that you're cutting it out completely or really reducing it, because sugar is bad. Sugar is bad all around. Processed sugar, forget about it. You want to get natural sugars from fruits and stuff like that, but Any processed sugars, no. Those are a no. Anyway, MyFitnessPal will help you track all of that. When it comes to the numbers, it can get a little tricky. I offer a couple consults that if you want to sign up for one of those, it'd be great, because then we can sit and go through all of your numbers specifically, and I can go in and plug in specifically like for calories and for macronutrient intakes and stuff like that to really get you on track using MyFitnessPal. But I say get it anyway, sign up, start tracking your food, so this can really help you to get a grip on how you're eating and what you're eating throughout the day, because, let's face it, nutrition is like 80% of the puzzle piece when it comes to living a healthier life. What happens in the kitchen is 80% of it. So get a grip on it, find out what you're eating, sign up to MyFitnessPal, do it right now. All right, go. No, seriously, I'll wait for you. All right, it's time for another segment of Talking OI with Dr. Desai. In this segment, we're going to talk about how to put your team together of doctors and other people when you have OI. So let's see what the doc's got to say about this one. So let's talk about building the team of doctors when you first want to take care of your OI, or you just find out you have OI, or if you find out that your child has OI. Okay. How do we build this team out? Who are the doctors to see first? Who do we go to?
So you're like we've talked about a couple times. You need a primary care physician, whether it's if you're a pediatrician or a pediatrician, someone in primary care. So primary care is someone like a family doctor, an internal medicine doctor. They could be a medicine pediatric doctor. It could be a nurse practitioner, physician's assistant. Who do you go to when you have like when you need your annual checkup or annual physical? That's the first person you need. That's your home base. Second, then it really, when you say who do you go to first for OI, it really depends on what you're looking. It depends, because let's start from the beginning. What is OI? It's more than just broken bones and blue sclera. We talked about that. OI is basically, it's even more than just, we say it's like a collagen disorder. It's even more than just a collagen disorder. It is a connective tissue disorder. What does that mean? Connective tissue is found in every single organ system in the body, right? So it could affect your eyes. It could affect your hearing. It could affect your heart, your stomach, your reproductive tract, your what else? What am I missing? Your skin, right? So it really depends. It depends on what you're looking for. But if you're looking for, typically if you're looking for, if you're looking for a diagnosis, if you're looking for a diagnosis, I would say you start with a geneticist, somebody who's going to give you the diagnosis. Although there are like people like outliers like Dr. Rush, he's a clinical geneticist. So traditionally, we've had this conversation where he's like, well, geneticists, they'll give you the diagnosis and then they'll pretty much send you on your way. But there's no follow-up after that. Mm-hmm. Some geneticists now are, and they do the research for it. Some will treat. They're starting to get into treating, like using the bisphosphonates for treatment. So you could have a geneticist who could do the treatment, because I've talked to them. You may need a physical medicine doctor. You may need like a physical medicine rehab doctor, someone who does, musculoskeletal rehab kind of exercising. Yeah, I've talked to them who they've done bisphosphonate therapy. I've talked to endocrinologists. Endocrinologists are one. They've also done therapy. Nephrologists, kidney doctors, they've also done this therapy. I'm trying to think what else. So geneticist, nephrologist, the primary care. So that's what you're talking about if you're talking about medical therapies.
Yeah.
Then you look at the surgical side, the surgical subspecialties. Do you have spinal issues? That you would see a neurosurgeon, a spinal specialist. If you're looking at the bones, orthopedic, you need an orthopedic surgeon. Pediatric for, obviously, orthopedic for rods or for whatever surgeries for that. So it really depends on what organ system are you targeting. Right. Like if you're looking for just, because to say what doctor should I first see, it's like it's a very generic thing that really it really depends on where you're going.
On what
What's your
you're,
problem?
what do you have
looking
going
for?
on, right?
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
pretty much my answer to that. Yeah.
And then, so let's, yeah, I mean, that leads to like the team that you're talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is,
Mm-hmm.
because I know you mentioned geneticists and endocrinologists. Like, I hear those two a lot.
Yeah.
What is the difference, and
Okay.
do you need one of each on the team?
Not necessarily, because it varies. You could have like a geneticist get you your diagnosis. Like, for example, Dr. Byers in Seattle is a geneticist. A lot of people have heard the Byers lab up in Seattle. They do the testing for OI, and he'll give the diagnosis, but then after that, pretty much kind of then they follow up with whoever to treat. What's the next step? Okay, you got a diagnosis. Now what? Now I need someone to help me with my therapies. Or so the next step would probably be, if you're looking for someone to check your levels, I would say probably an endocrinologist, but a nephrologist can do it. There are also there are also other specialties like metabolic bone specialists, but they tend to be more nephrology, kidney doctors, and endocrinologists. So then those are the. So I would say the big ones would be the nephrologist and the endocrinologist, but also the geneticist, and it varies depending on where they are.
So if you can get one of each on the team, then do it, right? I mean, the bigger the team, the better, because you have more people to look at the various issues.
I think at some point, probably if you get a genetic diagnosis and you know what your mutation is, after that, you probably don't need the geneticist much anymore. Although, but Dr. Rush is kind of that outlier because he kind of has his foot in different areas.
Right. I was going to say, Dr. Rush, since he's he treats it, then maybe he's going to be someone that you stick with.
Because he's an internist, he's a pediatrician, he's a clinical geneticist, he's a researcher. So he's got all these 4 circles that in a Venn diagram, just mixing at once.
So if you can get one doctor that covers a few of them, then
that'd be something really cool. Yeah. But it's rare.
So those are on the medical side: geneticist, endocrinologist, nephrologist. Then surgical side, like an orthopedic surgeon, and then neurosurgeons if you're getting more in depth with spinal issues, right? Yeah, that's a different. That's a subcategory.
If you're talking about things with basilar imagination, or some of these what are the other ones, like cervical spine instability in the spine, or kind of a lot of these neurosurgical issues. Those are things that you want to see a neurosurgeon for.
And then beyond that, physical therapy. I would even add in, for type 1 mild form, my chiropractor is amazing. And a lot of people talk about chiropractic, and, they ask, should I go? And I mean, it really depends. Again, my chiropractor is super awesome, and he learned about OI when I talked to him about it. He does a gentle manipulation. He still manipulates, but it's gentle, it's different. So I think that that's important. Also, because he's helped me tremendously.
As long as they understand that the bones, because I've seen both sides. I've seen some chiropractic. It's kind of one of those things where a lot of people swear by them, but I've seen some of the bad things also too. So it's because people who have really bad spines, where they've gone to a couple of chiropractors where it's kind of made it worse. But it really depends if they understand that you have manipulate gentle, that type of musculoskeletal kind of adapting that. If it works, that's fine. But the problem is, you always want to be a little aware of people who may not be familiar, that puts at risk of things causing unwanted fractures or pain or musculoskeletal joint pain. So then sometimes, it's one of those things, so just be a little wary of that. So
what can your body handle, and you kind of can,
knowing the limitations,
you can judge, knowing it.
So
and what physical therapists,
because physical therapists,
because that's something, as far as I'm concerned, there's that, you're in physical therapy, but then once you're done with that, and you want to go on to more, aggressive fitness, because physical therapy is not that. Physical therapy, from what I see and what I've experienced, is very, it's medical. It's I can't even really explain it. What is your experience of what you've seen with physical therapists?
Well, it's been great for Ethan. Like we started from a very early age. I think it's very important. It's key for especially children because our whole philosophy is like, let's stop these things before they happen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let's develop his bones, his muscle, get him on his milestones, and whether it's doing tummy time, these exercise on these exercise balls, or just certain things, reaching for things, or being in a hot tub or a bathtub, just kicking around, splashing, or just picking up like objects, bending down to reach to strength. You know, I mean, if you know like the physical therapists who have, there are a lot of really excellent physical therapists who have experience with OI. That we know that we're friends with, and we've known through over the years that we've gotten to meet over a couple of years through Montreal and Omaha and some of these other places. So there are a lot of physical therapists who have children with OI or some of these other places that are really helpful. So I would reach out to them. That's what we do. Like, you know, I'm not an expert with physical therapy, but we've kind of reached out and we've kind of worked. But I think it is a key part of this thing. Mm-hmm. It's a required thing to. It's that idea of getting your bones strengthened and your muscles with better tone.
Yeah.
So that because you know it's kind of a common sense, strong muscle tone and helps for bone strength and activity and ambulation and getting up and moving. So that's what the important thing is. Physical therapy is key for that.
Yeah. Any other people that should be on the team that are outside of like how about like a nutritionist?
A dietitian.
Dietitian.
That's important. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's important. Knowing what kind of healthy meals. I think just nutritionists kind of help. What kind of healthy meals to strengthen the bones.
Yeah.
That's just overall good health. So we talk about physical therapy. A lot of times, also an occupational therapist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for like particular if they have adaptations for like if they're for fine motor skills. A lot of these children sometimes have weakness in their hands and their fingers, so they need like special pencils. Like Ethan needs some of these pencils for grip. So occupational therapy helps with that. So we talk physical therapy, occupational therapy, endocrinologist, orthopedics. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. Spine if necessary. Then audiologist, some chest hearing once a year because that's important. Once a year to get hearing screen. Have your ophthalmologist get your eyes checked once a year. That's another one. And then what am I missing? Dental. So DI. Yeah. So a lot of because some of these kids need capping for their DI. Don't ask me much about adult dentists. I'm not familiar with many. But we found one for our kid when he's an adult. Maybe we'll find one eventually. But right now we have one that we kind of that has helped us out. But so dental, and then I would say, you know, I would say also starting now, is to also have like especially as you know from age 5. To have like a cardiac evaluation, heart cardiologist, because they're seeing studies where a lot of these people have like heart valve defects, mitral valve prolapse, valvular issues. They're also seeing like aneurysms, and my theory, because you see a lot of these severe type or like OI patients, there's a lot of sudden deaths, and here's my theory on that. A lot of times, and I've talked about with this doctor, Dr. Rush, I said, you know, we learn in medical school that another connective tissue that's called EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and Marfan syndrome. We learn all about how there's a lot of high incidence of aneurysms and sudden death and aortic aneurysms and in these other conditions. OI is actually kind of a cousin to those conditions. Mm-hmm. So here's my theory. I'm like, does anyone know if these people who are dying suddenly, I have a theory that they're dying of ruptured aneurysms, because the ruptured aneurysms that were never treated, they're like a ticking time bomb. If they weren't repaired, it's too late by the time they get diagnosed. They get diagnosed postpartum. Mm-hmm. So my whole advocacy is what we were talking about and what we were trying to involve in the Center Adult Clinic is have cardiac screenings. And it's not hard at all. You can treat them and you can prevent a lot of sickness and death, because if you monitor these aneurysms at a certain level, they need to be repaired, clipped. So if you monitor them early enough, you can prevent them from rupturing. So, and a lot of times, there's already a risk for heart disease, you know, as you get older, over age, and then having a connective tissue condition also puts you at higher risk. Yeah. And if you talk about the heart, you can't talk about the heart without talking about the lungs. So a pulmonologist. Mm-hmm. So a pulmonologist attests, because you hear about like things like sleep apnea. Sleep apnea it goes undiagnosed a lot in OI, and sleep apnea undiagnosed can lead to heart failure, can lead to sudden death. That's another issue. So you hear a lot of respiratory problems with respiratory failure with OI, but you don't hear about the heart. They go hand in hand. Yeah. So I would say, that's a whole. That's like 10, 11 doctors right there.
It's a lot of doctors, but I think that just having these as the initial list is great to tell people that, this is the team to start putting together for your kids and even when we're older.
And that's that's actually the prototype we're kind of like we're going to be using for this clinic. Those specialties pretty much for the most part that's what I came in my, physical medicine, audiology, ophthalmology, and then like cardiology, pulmonology. These are all the doctors at UNMC were getting involved.
So these will when this clinic is officially launched, I mean,
that we're trying to get all these in the same team. Yeah,
they're going to be there.
At the same place.
So if someone comes there for treatment, they're going to be able to see all these doctors at once, not all at the same time, but like
kind of like
say like over the span of time.
We're pretty much in the same building. That's the idea, because that's the way this clinic works in children's. We're just taking that model of all these specialties that you go to a room and all these specialists come to you one after another. They take their mobile computer and their doctor or the dietitian comes in, then the physical therapist come in, then the occupational, and then they assess things, social work or whatever. Yeah. But we're just transitioning that to the adults, and it worked for the kids. So I'm like, why can't we do this for the adults? Yeah. So that's what we're.
That's awesome. Hoping. I look forward to coming there.
Yeah.
And being a patient.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, we need to get this thing on launch. I'm like, just kind of support this thing. You need to.
All right, very cool. Any final thought on this as far as building the team and what people should know?
Yeah. So it's like life. Life's a participatory game sport. Yeah. You can't. There's no sitting on the bench here. This is something that either you are a part of it or it happens to you. No other way of saying that. So you're part of the team, or everything else that happens is on you. I'm like, you take responsibility for educating yourself, your health, your outcomes, and if you want to do it, I'm telling you now, there are resources out there now, so there's no reason not to do this. So if you want to do it, you can do it, but it's up to you to do it, and you have to. And so I've given you these resources, and there's all these resources now. It may not be perfect. It's not. Life's not perfect, but it's a start, and it's something that's better than we're, living just, being miserable or a lot of pain or just with no direction. This actually gives you some motivation to do things and really live a healthy life, which is what this is all about. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's all I'll leave you with.
Right. Perfect. Well, that's it for this episode of the DMD Fit for Life podcast. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got a lot of great information from this. And please share the podcast. Let's get the word out there about what's going on here. I really appreciate it. Make sure you visit disablemydisability.com and connect with me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all of the social media stuff. Let's keep the conversation rolling. All right, we'll see you next time. Get out there, break some barriers, not bones.